Look, I went back here a little. At the beginning, he said there were 6 points that we have to discuss. And the fifth one was Eich of Nehar Chukosam and Nefesh. What are the ways to removing these obstacles? The fourth one was the Mafsidim, which we saw there were like 3. And then how do I remove these obstacles from the mind? So that it becomes possible that we could really do a Yichud HaMaisa. So that's really, what I'm really realizing he's talking about here in Perek Chamishi. It's like it looks like it's a whole Perek that's dedicated to the Yetzer Hara and the battle with the Yetzer Hara, know the Yetzer Hara. Those tactics. Going over it again before. Okay, so on page 46, I guess we'll start from weapons of the Yetzer Hara. One of the most powerful tools, weapons that the Yetzer Hara has. To me, it's time. It's like it's to me just learning the showers, this Perek. It's not something you got to expect to find in a Rishon. It's like a Chronim type of Musa, talking about the Yetzer Hara and his powers. But that's what he's doing here. So he says of the most powerful of its weapons. He shoots at you, that he attacks you. And he battles you in your inner consciousness. One of his biggest tactics. He wants to suffix for word suffix. He wants to make suffix your truths. You really believe. And he starts playing with your mind a little. And to mess up what had been clear to you. Confuse your mind. With false ideas, and arguments that lies. To distract you from your true interests. What was clear to you from your Emunah, your Torah? If you could weaken your resolve, your belief system, then you got a big foot, right? I mean, the most basic thing you need to be over Hashem is to have those truths clear, no doubts. Thinking back, the first 2 of the 3 Mafsidim was in Perek Revi. One was ignorance of Hashem, one was ignorance of Hashem's teaching. Right? If you don't have a clarity, if you don't understand Hashem and His kindnesses, and you don't understand it, then you can't do Yichud HaMaisa. That's the Aleph. You need to know Hashem, know the truth. Then you could use your koiches, that everything should be geared to that goal. The goal is clear. What does it say at the beginning of the Yishar? First break is Soida Avoida. What is it? You're an expert with Yishar.
So, what are you asking?
Soida Avoida is the first line in Yishar, Perek. Right? You have to have your goals, and you have to have that clear before you could do anything else, right? And that's what that first Perek, we see Shem talks about. What's the tachlis, what's the emes, what are we here for? After I have that, so then I could get work. I know the job description. I have the job description. Okay. This is one of the strongest weapons the Torah does is to weaken our truth. So then I don't have the job description so clear. So okay, so I'm wishy-washy, so I'm not focused anymore. Yichud HaMaaseh is all about focus. But if you're careful from him, the shluch and you prepare your seichel, right? Your seichel yosher. You don't let these doubts. You can fight it. To battle with the Saleh, Pitzo Melech, and you can turn his arrows away from you. Tinotzel, you'll be saved. Timoling Mimena Brezis Hashem Yisparach, and you'll escape from him with the help of Hashem. Right? So says this means a person must always have ideas to fight back against the Yitzhar. You have to constantly strengthen your Emunah. I once heard from Rav Don Segal, he was discussing the Dor HaMidbar, how you find that it's a little hard for us to fathom how they slipped so many times. I mean, they saw these tears with time. They were Har Sinai. They saw, the most you could see about Kadosh Baruch Hu opened the world and showed that there's nothing. They heard. They heard Kadosh Baruch Hu speaking. How could they then go on and do those things? So he was saying that Emunah is something that if you don't actively work on it daily, if you don't actively develop it, you lose it. And Hashem did it to give us schar. Now, otherwise it'd be okay. I got a level of Emunah and I'm finished. So I did what I did and I'm done. That's why I always have schar, and therefore you have to constantly learn every day. I just saw somewhere, I don't remember who. I made a note to remember, but I don't remember how. He was saying every day you have to dedicate time for your Emunah, to strengthen your Emunah. It fits into right here because he's saying one of the most powerful tools of the Yitzhahara is to weaken our, and by definition, we're not strengthening the Emunah, it's going to be, it's something you have to work on daily. And that's why by learning to suffer as foreign. By learning what's foreign, by learning to, dedicate a certain amount of time. But that's what he's saying. The way you battle is. Again, so the truths are so powerful. Kadosh Baruch Hu is so clear to you. Presence, etc. That Yitzhara has no way of shaking that. But if you don't fight back, and leave your interest to it, you leave yourself to the Yitzhar, relying on the guidance of the Yitzhar. You'll be drawn after its lead. If you're not fighting back, then he takes control. He won't let go until he's destroyed you in both worlds. And uproot you in both dwelling places, this world and the next world. Because of as it's written, it's written about one of its instances. What does that mean? And it's subordinate agents. On a minute. That means it's Hebrew. The Pasuk initially is describing what side, not even his main actions, the Yitzhahara. On of Boyded, Seif Meseifa, Vish Echem Chayol, one of the soldiers of his battle says, Ki Rabim Chalolim Mipila. For she has cast down many dead, the number of her slain is huge. Her house is the way to the grave. Your is descending to the chambers of death. This pasuk is talking about what an immoral woman could do. Once a person gets close to the wrong kind of woman, she causes all kind of trouble, even to good people. According to the Gemara, another shot of this pasuk is someone who's not capable of being a leader yet leads people. He took him to sleep people. His house and his teachings are a way to go down to the chambers of death. Right? Just an example Mishlei is giving of the damage that the Yetzer Hara could do by just one of his koiches. Whether it's a more woman, it's a leader that hasn't learned enough, so that the Yetzer Hara uses him to mislead. Al-Kaini says, therefore, since it's such a dangerous thing, don't let any other struggles divert you from the most important struggle. You struggle with the Yetzer Hara. Person has all kind of, in his life, all kind of challenges. But you have to stay focused on the main challenge. Wherever you're going through, whatever you're doing, stay focused on your goal, on knowing that the Yetzer Hara is out there to catch you. Don't lose focus on growth. Don't be sidetracked by any quarrel that's not your quarrel with it. If it's now at the Yetzer Hara, well, Tasiach is Daitchem Arocha Neged Visharochik from Amarocha Neged Vishain. So don't involve yourself with things that are sorry, things that are far away from realizing that the Yetzer Hara is up front. He's fighting the battle up front. Don't let the sort of one who's distant from you take your attention away from the sort of one who's always with you, never separates. With the choice Mishlei, don't the effort of repelling attacks by someone who can approach you only with your permission. Keep you from repelling the Yetzer Hara, which does not give you permission to be with you, because he's always with you. Most dangerous people can't come close to you because he has to lock at night. The doors are closed, they can't come in. But the Yetzer Hara is able to be with you despite the closed doors. He's inside the house. He says we shouldn't be involved in focus in this world because it only means of diverting our attention from the great enemy. haLevavos informs us of the most dangerous enemy we have, the Yetzer Hara, does not desire that we should know about. So he does his work within us, in our minds, and then we think it's our own will, our own volition that's guiding us. But it's really, and we discussed that idea yesterday a little. The Yetzer Hara sort of becomes part of us. We think it's ourselves. We talk that way, right? I want this, I want that. Discussing the challenges you have. Farah, you discuss something you want. You use those words. Okay, I know it's a wrong wants. I want to battle it, but it's not. It's I want. It's the Yetzer Hara wants. But he's so close to home that we don't separate ourselves from him, and we view it as it's really us. So it's a very hard battle to fight on one end because you don't even realize that who you're battling and what you're battling, and that it's a battle. He says, if you become aware of the Yetzer Hara, you're capable of withstanding and opposing his influence. But first, you have to learn that there's such a thing. He's the most active force against us. He's the real enemy. You have to identify your enemy, says Ramillo. Once you identify it, it's much easier of a battle. Once you identify it's not what I want, and it's not me, it becomes much easier. Then you can lock him out. You can't lock him out if you don't realize that. You can't lock him out if you don't realize that there's anything to lock out because yourself. So lock the doors, but you're inside. Right? But if you can recognize, then no, it's the Yitzhara, it's our enemy. You can start making locks and you can like lock him out. Amal Chosid, they said about a Chosid, a tzaddik, he met an army coming back from a successful war. They had a war, and they're carrying shalom. They had for plunder. After a fierce battle, they had a tremendous battle. They came back and they brought back. They won. He said to them, he greeted them. You've come back from winning a minor battle, taking plunder with you. Get ready now. There's a big battle that's ahead of you. What big battle are you talking about? We just won. And he said, the battle against the Yetzirah and its armies. That's the most difficult about it. And again, from what I'm understanding, is because you don't even recognize that you're fighting somebody. You don't even recognize there's a battle. It's like almost the first thing is to recognize that the battle is the Yetzirah, and you can stop battling it. But there's so much that we don't even realize. You think this is us. He says the haLevavos is one of the wonders. It's amazing, my brother. Any enemy you have, if you defeat him once, twice, he goes away. He's discouraged. He sees he can't beat you. He leaves you alone. He wants him to think of continuing to fight the battle because he sees he lost. Because he realizes you're stronger. So you beat him. He attacked you, you beat him, he attacked you, you beat him. He gives up. He knows that he's weaker. He gives up hope of ever defeating you. He's never discouraged. And that's very discouraging. You beat him once, you beat him twice, right? The Gemara compares the Yitzhara to a fly, You brush the fly away, he comes back, you fly away, he comes back, he doesn't give up. The Yitzhara, it must be it doesn't matter whether you fight him once or 100 times. Whether it defeats you or you defeat it, it's always back. So it's a tremendous battle. He knows if he defeats you, you're dead. And if you defeat him once, he'll lie in wait, he'll ambush you for the rest of your life. Hoping to defeat you. As it says in Chovos, don't trust yourself until the day of your death. He doesn't give up. Don't be confident that you're finished with Yitzhara, even if you've conquered him so many times. The Yitzhara doesn't consider the smallest of your activities as too insignificant to defeat you. He doesn't mind getting you at a small thing. So that he has a stepping stone to the next thing, something bigger. So he doesn't find it. It's not like a regular war, you're not going to fight this little battle against a weak soldier. You're going to get after the man. No, the Yitzhara, he's smart. He goes after a small thing. Right? The Gemara says, and until he gets you to do Avodah Zarah. It's not so the small thing. Once he continues it there, he goes to the next thing. The smallest victory against you is important for the Yitzhara because it's a foot in the door. When you yield to the small things, they'll come again with something a little bit bigger. If you yield, they cannot come again. As the Gemara says, the Yitzhara will not give in until it's brought you to the state of becoming an idol worship. Okay, and therefore you gotta be on watch from it. You gotta always be looking out for him. And never create. Don't say, okay, this is not so important. It's a little avera. It's okay. I don't have to fight him there. Don't. That's the Yitzhara. I'm telling you that. That's exactly what he wants. He wants you to say, it's not worth the battle. It's not a deraisa. It's only a derabanan. Only a derabanan. It's only a minhag tova. It's not. It's okay. You don't have to give in. Don't fight so much. It's okay if you don't go to minyan. You get nothing in the house. It's okay. It's cold outside. Raining. It's pouring. right? Yeah. But you have to realize that Adara, but that's Mamich the Yitzhar, and that's his tactics. He wants to get you there. Okay, now you got you down in the house, it's not a minion, and the next time you'll do it have a little less kavana, and then you'll end up skipping, and then you end up not davening, and not putting on tefillin, right? He takes you from one thing to the other, so you have to be aware. If you're aware of his schemes, it becomes easier to fight him. If you're aware that no, I have to put up the battle by those smallest things. I can't give in to those small things because that's just it's like the hole in the dike, and the water starts in a little hole, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So you gotta close that little hole right away. Opposite. Think of its smallest victory and slightest increase of its power. Uh, um, in your mind, you should say, wow, I just lost such a big battle. That smallest victory in your eyes should be a terrible thing. Right? And a slight increase of its power as the biggest misfortune. Because be a step what's higher than that. Because they'll soon have a desire to come against you, achieving another victory. He'll never let go of you, so don't yield in anything. It says of Miller, although the Yetzer Hara is eager to trap you, it can be defeated. It can't be defeated if you stand up. Even though it's true, it never gives up. It's actually easy to overcome. If you recognize that it's there, and if you see how false its arguments are. So Ramil is saying this is what haLevavos is teaching us. It's true on one hand, it never gives up. Never gives up. And this I'm saying for you, Ron, okay?
To what
It's
extent?
not a depressing that he never gives up, because that's our purpose in life. That's again back to the first parak in Messias Yesharim. Everything in this world is because we're in the world of a fighter. We're here to accomplish. There's a story I think with Demi Shmuel, maybe one of these big people that he was deathly ill, and they went to his Rebbe, I think the Kotzker Rebbe or something, and they said, you have to look how perfect he is, like how great he is. And his response was, him? He's a nothing. And like everyone was shocked that was the response. They're coming to him to and he's on his deathbed, and his response is, what are you talking about? But afterwards it was explained, if you think that he's so great, so he finished his tachas. If he finishes tafkid, there's nothing to daven for. So his tafkid's going to leave the world. My response was, he has so much more to do in the world. He hasn't accomplished. And therefore, our whole world is a world of trying to accomplish. So the Yetzer Hara has to be there. The Yetzer Hara, the famous battle of Yaakov with the son, with Sorosh Esav. At the end, he says, the sun's come up, let me go. Right? I have to say Shira. And Michal Zilber said, what do you mean? That's a very handy excuse. I have to go say Shira. It's a cop out. You're in the middle of a battle. What are you going to say Shira now? He said, no, the sun came up and the battle was over and he lost. And the Yetzer Hara's purpose is to lose. And when he loses the battle, that's time for him to say Shira. He's not supposed to win. He's there as a challenger and he should be beaten. And if he wins, then he lost. Because that's not what he was created for. He was created to put up fight against us, and that he should lose. And when he saw that he couldn't overcome Yaakov, he said, now's my time to say Shira, because I fulfilled my purpose in the world. So the fact that the Yetzer Hara saying the Yetzer Hara is there until the last minute of our life, they say, I think it was Shlomo Salanter said on his deathbed, the Yetzer Hara is right there with him saying, oh, when he dies, I want you, in a way that everyone's going to say, what a big tzaddik he was when he died, look at the way he's dying, He's there to the last minute, but it's for our benefit, because that's our purpose in life, to have the Yetzer Hara and to fight the battles. And saying of the Miller that the Sefer is telling us that if I recognize, the first thing is to recognize that I'm in a battle and the Yetzer Hara is there, he says it can be defeated. so that he never gives up. It's easy to overcome him if you recognize it. You recognize that it's there. And if you see how false his arguments, so you learn his arguments. You learn how he operates. And then you could challenge that. If you are face up to it and oppose it, you could win each time. That doesn't mean you're finished with your fight. You have to fight it your whole life. But you could win without too much effort if you use your mind. That's what it said before, the seichel, and understand its basic falsehood. You have to catch the Yetzer Hara at his own game. They say that that's one of the ways you fight the Yetzer Hara is use his tricks. And if his his main thing is to weaken our. If I could turn the tables on him and be strong in my Emunah and realize how false he is, he loses his power. I can learn to recognize the falsehood in his arguments, the falsehood in when he tries to pull me into the pleasures of this world and into making this world a purpose and a goal. And I can see through those falsehoods, he loses his power. It won't stand up against you if you stand up to it. And again, of course, it doesn't mean it will retreat and never come again. It'll come back soon enough. But you can drive it like a fly. It's interesting because we always, I mentioned that the Chazal, that the Yetzer Hara is like a fly, he keeps coming back. But on the other hand, it's very easy to shoot him. You just move your hand and he flies away. Okay, he comes back, but it's very easy to push him away. It's like a fly that lands on your forehead. It's easy to get rid of it. It flies away, but comes back on the other side of your head. Drive it away. It comes back on your neck. Same fly keeps coming back. However, you can get rid of it each time. It's easy to get rid of it each time. Don't give up. If you give up, it will remain there and start sucking out your blood. Only Shekosav, it says, Veilecha to Shekosai, its desires towards you. Va'ata Tim Shabbat, you can rule over it. Each time you fight back, you're going to win. Okay, accordingly, don't be intimidated. Don't get scared of his words. No matter how strong his armies are. Don't be afraid of it. No matter how many allies it can muster, no many battles and armies the Yetzer Hara could put against you. Remember, it's like a fly. It could easily be crushed away. Okay. Old-fashioned myself.
Shukayach.